So, is it just me, or does it seem like the modern world is specifically designed to make us anxious? What with all the pressures we face these days and the lack of respite we get from our stressors, it's no wonder more and more people are reaching out for help from some form of therapist or coach. But back in the day when I was suffering high levels of anxiety, therapy wasn't necessarily an option. I didn't have money for private treatment and I didn't want to wait months for a referral from my doctor. So what options are there when you need help but aren't in a position to get access to any? In this video, I'm going to talk about the steps we can take right now to create a positive environment for change in our own mind when therapy just isn't an option. And why doing this isn't just the most accessible option, but it might well be the most effective. I'm Tim Box, and this is Clear Your Head. Okay, before we get started, I just want to let you know that I post videos every week about the mind, how it works and how we get it working better. So to make sure you don't miss anything, please hit the subscribe button now, and why not ring the notification bell so that you're the first person to see the latest episode as it goes up. The first thing I want to say is that getting the right help at the right moment in our life can really help us turn things around, and in some cases literally save our life. At some point, every single one of us has received some form of assistance from someone that has made all the difference for us. We all need help at times, so please never be afraid to reach out to seek help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of being human. However, there's a lot of good work you can do for yourself right now, and we could probably make a pretty good argument for suggesting the right therapist for you is in fact you. After all, nobody knows you better than you do. In this particular movie of your life, you're the only person that's been witness to every single scene. Not only that, but you're the only person that's been aware of the inner monologue and the motivating factors behind the main character's actions. You're the only one that truly knows how you feel. You could talk for ages to a therapist trying to get them to fully appreciate your journey, but of course they'll never know every detail of every moment you've lived, and as such, they'll never fully understand things quite like you do. And as viscerally as you might be able to describe how you feel, they'll never have been there and felt it for themselves like you have. Now, many would argue that's kind of the point. A good therapist will hopefully score pretty highly in the empathy column, and they also have the advantage of not being buried in that hole that you might currently feel you're in. A good therapist will be able to help you out of the hole specifically because they don't see things exactly as you do, and as a result, while offering understanding, can also offer a different perspective. But there's no doubt that when it comes to self-work, you have a good starting point in as much as you understand you really well. Oftentimes, the reason our own self-understanding isn't enough to change the way we feel is more about what we do with that knowledge, and perhaps more to the point, how we relate to ourselves as we seek to apply it. Let's not overlook the fact that your voice is the voice you're going to hear most often. You spend every day with you, and whatever you're saying to yourself on a regular basis will inevitably have a huge impact on your outlook going forwards. So whether you really want to do your own self-work or not, you're probably going to want to at least make sure your self-talk isn't undoing any good work and valuable help you might receive from a professional. So if we accept that no matter what, if we're going to move on from our negative patterns, be they anxiety, depression, lack of confidence, low self-esteem, or any number of other issues we might encounter, then we need to learn how to relate to ourselves in a positive way. Well, how do we do that? Well, let's take some tips from the professionals here. The psychologist Carl Rogers, founder of the humanistic approach to therapy, actually provides us with a clear blueprint for this. He had 3 very simple conditions for a therapist to adhere to when seeing a client. He believed that for an individual to grow, they would need to be exposed to an environment where the therapist displayed the following 3 attributes: congruence, acceptance, and empathy. Congruence means being open and genuine and unafraid to exhibit transparency to the client. Acceptance refers to what Rogers called unconditional positive regard, meaning that the therapist will never judge the client negatively, no matter what the client feels they need to say, thus creating an environment where the client feels able to share. Empathy is the therapist's ability to allow the client to feel heard and perhaps more importantly, understood. So what if we apply these simple principles, not to a therapy room, but to the way we treat ourselves on a daily basis? Firstly, congruence. It'll come as no revelation that we don't get past our issues by running away from them. It's often said that the first step to change is acknowledging the problem. And yet, how often do we deny our issues or lie to ourselves about who we are and what we need to do? The ability to be honest with ourselves is key to our growth. To recognise what we've been through and how it has shaped who we are now, whilst acknowledging it doesn't need to define our identity or dictate who we're free to become in the future, is much more effective than living in denial. Never underestimate the value of being honest and open with yourself about your own current limitations and, for that matter, your own strengths. We'll often miss our qualities just because we're working so hard to look away from ourselves for fear that we might be confronted with our flaws. Secondly, acceptance. One of the most universally shared human characteristics is the propensity to beat ourselves up for our mistakes and our failings. We'll often take a wrong turn in life, because we're human and that's what humans do. But instead of learning and growing, we tend to put more energy into castigating the part of us that made the mistake. And then all we learn is that we're clearly not good enough. What if we extended ourselves the courtesy of never judging ourselves for those inevitable missteps we're bound to take on that journey of discovering and becoming the very best version of ourselves? How different would the voice in our heads sound if it was deliberately and maybe even habitually a positive one? Thirdly, empathy. The reason our emotions get out of control so easily is often because we're attempting to shut them down, as if it's wrong to feel anxious or to doubt ourselves or to experience periods of despair. When a part of your mind is trying to tell you something, especially something important, and you choose to ignore it or stifle it, it might just feel the need to shout louder. If you then interpret that as your enemy, then that part of you might just start to behave like it is one. The ability to listen to our own subconscious drivers and understand and empathize with those parts of yourself is invaluable. So often I hear clients say they have no idea why they feel this way, and in the very next sentence, even in the same breath, they tell me exactly why they feel this way. Maybe something they went through when they were young, or an attitude they've adopted from a parent. Just because our responses don't always feel appropriate or helpful right now at this time, doesn't mean we can't easily relate to why that part of our mind is currently responding in that way. Listening and seeking to understand the otherwise confusing and troubling responses is often how we let them be at peace. So what if we made those changes? What if we decided to treat ourselves as if we were our own client in a therapeutic relationship? What if we decided there were certain maxims that we'll always stick to and live by within this relationship? Oftentimes the reason we struggle emotionally and mentally isn't just because we've been taught a certain outlook and a certain set of responses that we now live by, but also because we've created an environment in our own subconscious that perpetuates these patterns rather than promotes growth beyond them. It's surprising how quickly we can upgrade our thinking when we take the steps to change this environment. So with all the self-talk and internal reflection that we take part in as human beings, it turns out that you're your own therapist whether you like it or not. What environment are you going to create for your client? Thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, then why not check out some of the other episodes? And please remember to hit the subscribe button, as it helps the channel grow and it helps me create more content for you guys. Please leave a comment, tell me what you thought of this video and what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Keep your head clear. I'll see you next time.